Aloha, cupcakes. I'm trying out the Scharff brush again after a little bit of review and having seen a few other people that use these long handle brushes. The biggest thing with them is that they use them on things that are upright, and I typically paint things that are just laying flat on my desk. So here we are with an easel. Now, this is a long handle brush. They are squirrel hair. They are from Germany, and they're not made by Mac. Oh my goodness, brushes that are not made by Mac. I know, it's a thing. I've actually been on this quest to try all the brushes that I can find that are not from Mac, and I've been trying to get them from every country that I can. And the weird one is that this is a German-made brush, and after a little bit of research and some digging and some homework, I actually got this one from Anaheim, California. You know, I mean, it's Coast Airbrush. You can't really fault it for being Coast Airbrush. They kind of have a lot of things that no one would have ever heard of. So now the brush itself, for pulling some straight lines, not the most comfortable thing in the world for me to use this long handle for it. However, the brush pulls some nice clean lines. Now, when I pull back a little bit on the handle and I start doing more of these curved lines, I guess, or slightly curved lines, it smooths out a bit, and it's a little awkward to just try to ride on the tip just because you really need to have your wrist out. And I had meant to do this with a maul stick until after an hour of digging around in the garage, I realized I don't have one anymore, and I must have left it somewhere else. So whoever has my maul stick, I hope you're enjoying it. I will make more, I guess. I mean, ultimately, it's just a drumstick that I put a rubber doorstop on the end of it, and I painted them because I'm lazy. Now, I will say that these, once I get to a comfortable hand position, and I mean, like, I kind of have it really far back on this thing, and I start to use my other hand to give it something to prop on, which would be really easy if I had a maul stick. Now I have a very different angle to hold this thing at. And I'm able to pull some very tight turns with it and very sharp, crisp lines while I'm doing it. Now, these are things that I can see if you were working on, say, I don't know, a tailgate, for example, and you were sitting on the ground and you had to, I don't know, really reach into an awkward position where you wouldn't necessarily be comfortable doing it. This seems like the ideal brush for that kind of work, which is kind of interesting considering how many trucks I do. Like, I think I've really actually, just by working with this brush, found a way that I can cut half of my working time down without having to screw around with things and having knee pads on the ground. And I might be able to just sit on a mechanic stool and just paint on a tailgate. So I'm going to have to find a couple of tailgates to paint on, other than mine. Fun fact, my truck has no pinstripes on it. It's weird trying to pinstripe your own stuff. It is. Now, I will tell you that as a person who has a couple of very specific types of wrist injuries, this one's a little bit hard for me to hold on to at this angle. So I think I may be wrapping up this handle with something a little bit thicker just so I don't have to put as much pressure on my thumb. And true to form, I'm pulling super slow lines just because I don't trust myself going zippy through this one. But all in all, I think that this is if you've never tried a long-handled brush, I suggest getting one. There are some things with this that, well, here, let's just do one of these. So if you look, I don't have to reposition my hand at all, and I'm pretty far down on this handle. Now that is a single stroke, fairly crispy line that, yeah, that would be a little bit tougher to do if I was to use a regular striping brush because there's nowhere for me to rest my hand. And then just trying it, just putting my elbow down on my workbench. So no support, just trying to pull it without really having to reposition my hand. This thing gives you a little bit more range and a lot more distance to play with. I'm a huge fan of that concept because I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I just know that I want to. Now, let's give this one because I know this has been a question with some of the other brushes. Doing some of the tighter turns with this one, it is a little bit shorter bristles than, say, like a green wrap and a blue wrap. So I'm able to pull the really tight turns. It's just pulling the really tight turns and holding this thing at this angle is a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm not saying you can't do it, and I'm definitely not going to tell you not to do it. I'm telling you I need more work doing it. But the brush, if I can figure out this angle, I think it'll just have just enough snap that I can do some things that are very similar to what I would do with a scrolling brush. And that's just oodles of fun. Because who doesn't want to be able to pull that without having to actually load up a scrolling brush? That and the idea of having line consistency like this as opposed to what you would get from a scrolling brush. It's definitely got its appeal. Now, this is my second attempt at duplicating that other line that I did on the other side over there, and I will tell you that for whatever reason, this position for me is very awkward. And you're about to see exactly what I mean by that. Because I need to pull back a little bit more on this one. But what happens is that it frays out just a little right there. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to give this a second attempt. Now, I know that there's a voiceover, so it's not real time. And I also know that I screwed it up even on the second attempt. So this is something I just need to be working with more. And true to form, guys, anytime I work with a brand new brush, I have to do it a few times over. You will too. Till next video, stay moist, my friends.